Hello, Aron. How are you?
Hey, Lindsey. I hope you're doing well.
Listen, I am. I am on the mend, which is good. Yeah, I am. I can't. This is horrible. I'm trying to remember. I think I'm like two and a half weeks post-op with
Yep.
surgery, and just thankful that I'm like out of the woods and getting my energy back and all that good stuff. So yeah, so
Yeah.
feeling better for
It
sure.
was
Thank you.
it was very special. I don't know how many people are left in the world that actually send handwritten thank you notes, but I really appreciated mine. I thought that was like Lindsay. I talk to Lindsay all the time and she still mailed me a thank you note. Like,
I
who
did.
does that? That's so sweet.
Listen, you helped provide a meal for me while I was down and out. I was like, I'm just sitting here. I'm going to write everybody thank you notes. But I will say, my grandpa, very big on it, very big on
Oh.
hand. And so he would handwrite thank you notes to us and just send us letters as grandkids, which I love. And I can get us on a soapbox a little bit as to um, like the anger I feel sometimes when there are grandparents that are not involved in their grandkids' lives.
Mhm.
Because I'm like, even just writing letters is so easy to do.
Right.
But it was a great memory for me, and he would write his little picture, like he had his signature, and then he would draw his face, like it was kind of in a little cartoon character. But anyways, big on thank you notes. So we always like he would send them to us, we would send them to him, and then I'm trying to get like Wesley, he has to write thank you notes to everybody that gives him presents. Now, granted, his attention span is shorter, which is makes sense. So there are these like thank you notes where it's like a Mad Lib or whatever.
Like,
Thank you
son,
for
dude,
the
thanks, bye.
right. It's like, dear blank, thank you for the blank. This is how it made me feel when I opened it. And then he gets to select one of the things. And then it's like, thank you. And then he sounds Wes. So it's still something, but I don't know. There's just something in me that feels like if people take that much time out of their day to like think about you in that way, like you can send them a card. You
Yeah, that's really sweet.
Yes, but anyways, thank you for your sustenance during that time. I'll tell you, like, if anybody is ever getting surgery, where you're out for a couple weeks, I can tell you all the things that they're going to want, and a
Yeah,
meal
right.
train is one of them.
Yeah, yeah.
It is very helpful for sure. But yeah, but man, it's crazy. Here I am, kind of like, okay, new year.
That's
We're
right.
moving into a new season. The Christian Therapist podcast. We're doing starting season 2. Just wrapped up our theology of series, but honestly, Aron, a lot of things that we're talking about still have to do with theology. So
Well,
it's
we're the Christian Therapist podcast. How do you not? Theology is
exactly.
always a part of something we're doing.
It really is. And so I think no matter what, we will still be talking about theology, whether
Yeah,
overtly or covertly.
that's right.
We will be doing that. So, yeah, here we are getting into this place. I got my coffee. We are ready.
I got my tea. I drink
Oh,
a
good.
lot, a big tea.
You do. But tea is something that you have daily.
Every day. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Even when we
Loose
do our
leaf.
marriage intensives on the food list, we're like, are we ordering Aron his tea? Do we have it?
That's
And
right.
usually we do, which is
Yeah,
good.
that's very good.
Yes. So, Aron, as we enter into this time, we were talking about, and just by nature, my counseling practice, the counseling center that I run, connected with the church, your counseling practice was connected to a church, not anymore. However, still faith-based Christian
Yep.
counseling center, still have church referrals. So
Hmm.
the point of me saying this is that so many times we are interfacing with people who are in higher positions of leadership, whether in the church and or in a business,
Yep.
in your own family. I mean,
Hmm.
just a lot of high positions of leadership. And there starts to come a place and a time that we can see where it's almost like, I think we've said it on the podcast before, but, and then we were talking about this earlier, where it's like, I heard it from Beth Moore, you've said it, you've heard it from somewhere, but where, especially people in these positions of leadership, especially if it's positions of leadership that just really offer such a testimony. You know,
Hmm.
we're like shepherding people
Right.
closer to Jesus, closer to Christ. It's like the enemy can see the like cracks in the armor
Hmm.
and go right on in and then go right on in and start to come up with these lies, these justifications as to why they should do XYZ. Then they do it. And so it's like the way Beth Moore says it is like you're lured into the pit. And then once you actually jump into the pit, then the enemy turns and starts to accuse you and condemn you of how in the world could you ever get in this pit.
Yep.
So then what happens with these people in leadership, people in prominent positions, especially in faith, start to go, I can't ever let anybody see this
Right.
place here,
Yep.
you
It's
know?
difficult. I remember, working for the church for 16 years. Um, and that expectation of my presentation was powerful.
Mhm.
People want to see their pastors in a certain way. They want to know that the leader of a high level or high level in an organization presents themselves in specific ways. We want to believe they're inherently good, they struggle less, they have the skills, they have the capacity, because we're going to trust them to lead us somewhere. We're going to entrust our life or our business or whatever to the leadership of these individuals. We want to feel reassured
Yeah.
that they got the goods to pull it off. And so
Yeah.
but we don't want to know the reality. It's like we want the illusion that everything's great. And so that people in C-suite level, high level leadership, executive, like high level leadership, pastors, even like lower level in mega churches where there's just a lot of expectation, then there's these places where you feel you're pushed kind of above the waterline, you're presenting a thing, and then you can feel trapped by the presentation, especially if there's areas of your life that are more broken, that are more struggling, that are more suffocating. But who do you tell? Because if you break the illusion, then your career's at risk, like your family's at risk. There's a lot at stake in order in confession if that's kind of like not the culture. And so then all of the pressure and all of the distress and all of the need for release or comfort or whatever, the devil finds these cracks and just sucks you in with these kind of like uh, I said seduction already, so I'm trying to find another word. Like just seduces you
Mhm.
with these allures that can soothe the hidden parts of you. And then as you believe those lies that they'll be good for you, as you said, then you're condemned for having done them. And then you're kind of trapped because who do you tell? Who do you confess to? Like now, what do you do once you've crossed the line, whether it's an affair or whatever? Then you're stuck, right? Then what do you do?
Right, right. And there's something to, and I believe there's a Bible verse on it, but don't quote me. I'll have to like find it. But it feels like it talks about, those in leadership are put to a higher standard. And also at the same time, the more that we are like moving to get people out of this neutralization zone or moving people closer to freedom in Christ, that man, the bump up, like I don't know what the right word is, but it increases how much it feels like we are looked at by the enemy.
Hmm.
I mean, I know for me, since starting this counseling center in 2020, the amount that I have had to walk through personally, that I've had to walk through within the counseling center, it has been so much harder and so much tougher than when I was just doing my own thing
Yep.
and, um, not necessarily doing it all that well, but doing my own thing. It just there is a position where it's almost like you stick your head out, you stick your neck out as a leader, and there's a part of like, oh, like then like I see you, you're now way more
Right.
visible, and
Yep.
I am putting more targets on you. And so there's a place of almost expectation,
Hmm.
for me at least, where I'm like, ah, this sucks. But I also know this, like, just these things showing up are going to show up. I'm expecting it now
Yep.
versus being surprised by it, if
That's
that
right.
makes sense.
And it's one thing, for the enemy to pluck a piece of fruit off a tree, but
Hmm.
if it can shake the tree,
Hmm.
well, that's like way more efficient from an enemy's perspective, you
Yes.
know?
Yes.
And leaders are targets because they have the impact to shake a whole tree.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so that sense of being targeted more, or the weight of, and even if it's less, I don't know, spiritual warfare, just practical, every decision a leader makes impacts many people.
Yes.
Like every decision you make impacts everyone below you.
Yes.
And so there's just resonance that happens in the ways we do things, which is also another reason why it can drive leaders to hide things, because every visible thing shakes the tree. And
Yes.
there's this fear that if I'm known for where I struggle, then that will be an exposure that shakes the tree. But if it's always known, if it's always something confessed, it's just part of the culture, then it's a normalizing factor. We're like, that's not somebody who's got it all together, and I feel like, oh my gosh, if I could just be like them, because I don't really know the reality of them.
Right.
But if it's just like, here we all are, we're all struggling, we're all working. The leader is the one who may be further from me, but they're not one who just has it all together. They're just further along, maybe working it out. Then that's more comforting as an organization. Like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
but you have to be careful, because then if you lose confidence in the people that
Mm-hmm.
follow you, that it impacts your ability to create change or lead your mission or kind of whatever you're doing. So it can be a very complicated thing for leaders to try to figure out how to navigate all that.
Oh, completely. Completely. It can feel very lonely. Now, Aaron, I think it would be good if we start to talk about what are some of the lies that we have heard that leaders have told us? And even, to be honest, you and I both lead teams that
Yep.
we can hear ourselves
Sure.
that start to get us into this place. It's almost like where you've got to be really super aware of your enemy and their schemes
Yes.
to start to call it out as, oh, that's what that is. That's not
Hmm.
truth. That's
Right.
not actually what I need. That's a lie starting to seep in. That's the chink,
Yep.
the crack there in my armor. And I can tell you, I have heard a lot of times there's a voice that says, you've worked so hard, you deserve this.
Yep. That was the first one I thought of.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah,
you've
for
heard that
sure.
one a lot too.
Oh yeah. Well, because being a leader, I don't know if people, if being a leader was easy, everybody would do it. Like, it requires a lot of sacrifice. It requires a ton of energy to build an organization, to lead an organization, to navigate all the complexities that show up. And so there's a lot of sacrifice that goes even behind the scenes. It's not just an 8 to 5 job. It's like 24/7 job sometimes. And so there's a sense of like, I've sacrificed so much. Like, where's the benefit?
Hmm.
right? I need this in a lack or a desire or a comfort. Like I deserve that. I've worked hard to get this thing.
Yes.
And there's a well, why don't you describe why it's a lie? Don't they deserve it? If I play devil's advocate, well, don't they deserve these things? Haven't they worked so hard?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Look, there's a place in me, Aaron, that's like, ugh.
Uh,
Where I'm like, even you doing that makes me want to smack you, you know, where I'm like, good Lord. Because bigger picture to where, especially in this, where I go, our job, what we're not doing for ourselves. We're doing it for the Lord. We're doing it, um, again, I'll start to go back to like, is the motivation, is it to really bump you up, or are we really and truly working as though we're working for the Lord, in that way? And the thing that we deserve, when we're talking about deserving, it's like we don't deserve to now go cause more harm in your own relationships and in the relationships of others around you.
hmm
What you deserve is something that's actually going to give you life, that's going to give you freedom, that's going to give you comfort. And there is a feeling, right? Like there's a feeling underneath that message
Yep.
that needs to be looked at and needs to be tended to.
hmm
Because the feeling underneath that message could be, I might feel like I'm carrying all this alone
Yes.
and I need others, but I can't say that.
Right.
The feeling underneath it could be, I feel like I am self-sacrificing, but it is an external yes, but it's really an internal no. And so
hmm
I'm not being congruent in the way that I'm showing up at work. So it's like what you deserve is that we need to look at those places in you and help it get what it really needs.
That's right.
Because what it really needs is not a place of moving to then cause more chaos, harm. And a lot of times, what the lie doesn't tell you is then how it's going to impact. I mean, just that, what butterfly effect, ripple effect, like,
Yeah.
I don't know if butterfly effect's the right word, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It, the sin that you choose to move into doesn't only have you pay for it.
That's right.
A majority of time, especially in leadership, so many others are going to pay.
hmm
And it's not a good cost either. Like it's not worth it. And it goes back to it's not going to satisfy. It might, for the moment, in
Yeah.
that moment, it might give you a little dopamine hit.
hmm
It might give you like oh, that feels good for the moment, but it's not something that will satisfy. And then you're going to continue to need more of that thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, I deserved it. I got it. It felt good. Then when I try to go after that thing again, I'm going to need more.
Right. And because it's not truly lined up to what's aching, right? To what's missing.
Right.
When we practice living our life out of balance for a mission, for Jesus,
Mhm.
to accomplish a goal, to reach a level, when we practice living out of alignment, then the part of us we've denied needs to be cared for. We can't just perpetually
Mhm.
ignore parts of ourselves and then move on like they don't exist. Every part of us needs our attention to be attended, to be cultivated, to be challenged, to be disciplined, but also to be listened to make sure it doesn't derail our leadership.
Mhm.
And so So when we're like that sense of I have deserved this thing, it's for me, it's the part that I've neglected in myself that is needing some attention. But instead of me attending to it or me confessing it to somebody, I'm just going to go get something external, right? I'll get a drug, I'll have a drink, I'll have an affair, I'll do something that soothes myself. But as you said, there's a blindness to the impact that behavior will have
Right.
over the long term. The problem with fantasies are is fantasies end with the climax. They end with the part where it feels good. And we're not really playing out how does this play out over the long term?
Hmm.
If it comes out, if she gets pregnant, if I get a DUI, if the my embezzlement's found out, right? Because it was just, but it's just justified. It's these things where that we stop looking as a leader and we start trying to recover what we've neglected,
Hmm.
and that really sets us up for failure. So I think that there's a neglect aspect that we neglect a part and then it longs and then we just throw stuff at it or we get sucked into an allure. But there's also this thing where because we have power, because we have position, then our lusts, our desires that we have as humans, we have more access. We may have more financial resources. We
Right.
may have more means of partitioning or setting up things to be separated, that our power or our influence can minimize anybody's exposure. We can use threats. We can do all kinds of things because we can.
Hmm.
That's among the most destructive. That kind of like maybe if there's a I deserve, maybe the
Yeah.
second line as is a I am someone entitled to.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. And there was another one that came to me, and then when you said this one, I was like, oh yeah, that's one too. Um, but man, I'm trying to think through what the other one is that I've heard before, but maybe it will come back to me. Um, but I think too, the bigger point in all of it is that there are things that start as this whisper.
Yeah.
And it's a whisper that usually will lead you to some sort of isolation,
Hmm.
something in secret, something that if you told everybody else, you would be embarrassed about. So these are all these markers of knowing, okay, we're headed into the pit or we have landed in the pit.
Yep.
And then when we're in the pit, the whisper starts to be no one could ever know,
Yep.
right? Like if they knew, they would leave you. If they knew, they would reject you. If they knew, your world would crumble. If they knew you couldn't handle what's next, they couldn't handle what's next, you'll lose your family. It
Yep.
just now, it's now highlighting, like what you were saying before, we were blind to the cost.
Hmm.
Now it's unveiling the cost in such a big way
Yep.
that it's like I have to maintain this. And then what starts to happen is you start to have to literally like split your emotional insides into two.
That's right. And I think maybe the one that you were forgetting or you were trying to get to, it's like minimizing, but it's only this.
Mm.
It's only this small. If it's a pit, like I can step out of it, right? I can
Yeah,
climb. Like it's still like it's not that big. It's not that big a
sure.
deal. It's
Sure.
just over here, right? It's
Yes.
just this
Yes.
minimization, but then kind of the more you dig yourself in your pit, like the bigger the pit gets. And then there is a moment when that realization of like, I don't know, now I can't.
Hmm.
Now I can't. Now it's too big.
Yes.
But if I confess, like then I'm destroyed or things are destroyed. So I can't confess is the lie. Like I can't confess that. But but then nothing's resolved. I don't stop doing it either
Hmm.
because living two lives is hard and stressful, and the parts that were denied before are now even more distressed. because I've given them something that now they can latch onto for some kind of soothing, and I'm going to cut it off from the only thing it had. And so now it wants it even more to sustain the disconnect. And then it just spirals, and eventually it all just crumbles and it just destroys everything.
Yeah.
Destroys lives, destroys companies, destroys churches, destroys
Right.
people's faith because they're like, I thought he was the example I was supposed to follow. Like, as you
Right.
were saying before, like if he can't do it, how am I supposed to do it?
Right. Right. Well, and I did remember as you were talking, so thank you for helping me jog my memory, is a little bit too of what we hear can also have to do with looking at what others are or are not doing for you.
Oh yeah,
And so that's the other kind of lie that we start to hear creep in. Usually it's concurrent, like it goes with some other lies, but it's like all these people over here are getting
everything you need.
XYZ
Mhm.
and I work just as hard, so it goes back to it pairs with the I deserve, or
Yeah,
looking at all of the things that I'm not getting, because we hear all the time, well, I wasn't getting this in my relationship. So that's the justification, that's the lie, that if I'm not getting it here, I'm going to need to go over there, you know,
right. Yep.
or I'm going to have to now be the one in charge of finding it. But it's not ever a now, like, because I'm not getting it, I feel the loss of it. Now I need to go turn into the relationship and dig more into the relationship as to where's the stop? Like, where's the bottleneck? Where's the dam and the, river here? Why is it not flowing my way?
Yep.
I got to go over here and get it. Which then because there's a reason it's not coming this way. Now
Yep.
that then adds even more as to
Yep.
why it's not coming this way. So that was the other thing. I was thinking, oh, that's right. There's lies we tell about ourselves, but there's also lies we tell about others as well,
Sure.
you
And
know?
that kind of that martyr syndrome where I'm giving up everything for everyone. And while that has a noble purpose, the all the things that I was saying like are denied cry out for relief.
Hmm.
And it's a common, there's elements that are universal. They're just different in their application in high level leadership versus just kind of anybody working. But
Sure.
it's so counterintuitive to think that the answer to my relief is to turn into more distress.
Hmm. Hmm.
Confession is increasing distress, not alleviating distress. Leaning into repair a relationship is way more difficult than just looking for something, a stress relief or an interaction.
Right.
There's so many things that are like, if I'm already this distressed, why would I go choose a path of more distress
Sure.
to get to the answer? But there's that scripture that says, "Well, broad is the road that leads to destruction," right? And that makes
Sure.
very obvious, makes a lot of sense. Everyone's moving down that road, and narrow is the path that leads to salvation. Why
Yes.
would I pick this narrow path that like looks really narrow and specific and difficult and hard and everything could fall apart? I'd rather just fantasize I can keep it all separated and it'll never come out. But our
Yeah.
sins always find us out,
Oh, for
and
sure.
it just crumbles.
Well, and this is a phrase that I've heard you say all the time, but it is that place where you sit back and you go, so choose your hard.
Yeah, you got to pick your hard. It's all
Right.
hard. The illusion is that there's a path of no hard, right? That's the illusion.
Completely. Completely. And that is a little bit of the lie that is sold because it's not necessarily saying that it's not hard, but it is veiling all the consequences from you
Sure.
until you get in the pit and then it releases them all. But you sit back and you go, this will be temporary relief, but a forever hard and a bigger mountain of hard to climb over. Or, yes, lean into the distress, lean into the whatever the crack is in your armor and start to wonder why it's there, what's the origin, what's happening, what is it needing truly.
Yep.
And you got to do that with other people.
Yep.
Like you got to do that with God. Like that's not something you do in a vacuum.
Yep.
Because in the vacuum by ourselves is where we start to hear those voices of lies and they start to feel very true,
Yep.
right? And so, if we kind of story arc this, it's like when you're in a leadership position, especially, you are far more of a target. You just are. And so you need to be aware that you are. Like just know that up front.
Hmm.
And so with that, we show up with even more integrity.
Yeah.
Because I have all the time. I've got voices in me that's like, just cut that corner. Because when you cut that corner, like you get to go home earlier. Like you get to, and I tell Wesley all the time, like when he does a job, and sometimes I like want to bang my head against the wall, but I'm like, oh, here, take these hats upstairs. And then I look and the hats are on the ground right underneath the hat rack, and I'm like, I mean, it was just like, instead of your hand was in the right spot, instead of going down, you just go up, like,
Right.
and so I think he's so tired of it, but I'm like, hey, bud, when we do a job well done. Just real quick, like it's what we do. We do a job well done. But I can hear that voice, that can go,
I'm
just
tired. I don't
I
want
know.
to,
I
right?
know. I
Exhausted.
know.
I
Right.
just want the break. I don't want to have to this time. I just want to not have to, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, let's have to tell myself, okay, we got to do a job well done,
Yeah.
and got, or I'll tell myself, no, I have to show up with integrity, but
Yeah.
there is a literal talking back to that voice. But it's
Hmm.
interesting because I start to see that voice as a voice that's very much childlike, like my kid,
Yeah.
and to go, what would I say to him? I don't want to, I don't want, and I say, hey, we're going to do the hard thing first so then you can rest later.
That's right.
Like just these are the quick things that we'll say to them. And then I'm like, I got to do it too, But starting to talk to that voice to say, that's not true, that's not
Yeah.
whatever. This is what we got to do. This is who we are. This is the way we show up. Um,
There's an important principle I want to throw in real quick while you're saying that.
yeah,
It just kind of struck me. And that has to do with like, because I have that, I mean, anyone with ADHD has this sense of like, well, I can do that later. Why would I do the hard thing now if I could do it later, right?
sure.
And then there's an awareness in that moment that I can even enjoy the not doing it now to a greater degree because I'm not doing the thing I don't want to do.
Sure.
I'm like soaking in like, oh, I'll just do that over there. And there's that sense of relief that I feel I'm aware of. And I think
Yeah.
what often happens is when we do the hard thing first, we engage all that distress. And then when it's done, we don't practice the joy of having it done. We just move on to the next hard thing to do. And as a leader, it feels like that all the time. I'm just doing one
Sure.
hard thing after the next, and
Yeah.
I'm never really getting the benefit of the relief of
Mhm.
having done a hard thing and being like, whew, that was really hard. I'm so glad it's done. Like I can take a second or take a minute or enjoy the goodness of having accomplished it and the goodness. We just keep moving
Right.
on to the next thing. And leaders, I think, are the most susceptible to that. We're always looking ahead. We're always looking in the future. We're not just looking where we are, we're looking where we're going. So there's a string of hard things that are just in a row. And as I knock one out, the next one's on the list. And there's
Right.
no pocket of just like, whew, that was hard. That's good. That we get when we delay it. Whew, I'm not going to do that right now. It's good. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I just wanted to point that out. It just struck me as like, I probably need to take a second after I do a hard thing and just like enjoy having had it done before I start thinking about the next one.
Totally. Totally. And I think even for us as parents, I mean, I know last night, like I had him do a hard thing first. And when it was done, poor thing, I was like, hey, bud, I need you to look me in the eyes. And I was like, I'm very proud of you for doing that. That was a great, great job. And of course, looking in the eyes is always an awkward thing. So it's like, whoa. Um, but yes, I think that's to that degree. There is that place in me that I've discovered, like, man, to sit back and to reflect on the year and to reflect on the places of growth, the places of making a difference is so big. But then also to, like you were saying, even in those big projects, being like, we did it.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
As I think you were telling me, were you telling me like how like celebration's important, right?
Oh, for
Like,
sure.
we need to celebrate things.
Yes, I
Yeah.
agree so much. Because it goes back to even like, man, we need to, we do a lot of weeping with those who weep. And so we also need to rejoice with those who rejoice. Like we need to be able to enter into to both of those places. Um, Man, I even remember there was some, I can't remember. I remember the principle. This is like the way my brain works. I can remember the overarching principle, but I can't remember the details. But the overarching principle of this research was essentially that how babies respond when you are looking in their eyes and meeting them in joy and
Hmm.
what it all lights up in their brain when
Hmm.
you're able to, you know, make your face excited, happy, and it continues on. I mean, I even, my kiddo's in fifth grade and I chaperoned something on Wednesday for his class, and he would look to me still for my facial expressions,
Yeah.
to where like laughing or excitement or whatnot. And just will still look
Yep.
even as a fifth grader. And so just being mindful of that for sure, for
It's
sure.
crazy how that principle never really changes in humans,
Hmm.
right? We are always looking to who is delighted in us,
Oh, yes.
right? And
Yeah.
that's one of the allures of position and power is it is a position where everyone looks towards, so you get to see them look towards you. But the disconnect is that no longer are they just looking at you, they're now looking at your position, or
Hmm.
they're looking at your influence, or they're wanting something from you. They're not trying to really give you something. They are expecting something from you. And then you feel unseen, even though you're in a very visible
Hmm.
position. You
Hmm.
feel unseen. And then that, because we talked earlier, the hearts that we hide to maintain the position or the illusion of what people are wanting to see, then I feel less seen, which makes the allure of all these other things greater. And
Hmm.
so, being the Christian Therapist podcast, as therapists, like our posture then with these, because it's easy to either be overly commiserating and be like, oh, yep, that's so hard, I get it, and not hold accountability. Or it's like, what kind of loser are you that does these kinds of behaviors? Like, how could you do that?
Sure.
Uh, you're just callous. But we want to enter in when these people are our clients, it's high compassion, high accountability.
Hmm.
Right? Because when we are connected to our own brokenness as therapists, when I know the brokenness in me, it's much easier to connect to the brokenness in somebody else. I
Yes.
think about like degrees of separation. Like, I don't know how many years ago, it was like 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon or whatever it was, you know
Right.
what I mean? Or
Yes.
whoever, like you can connect people to whoever in seven connections. I'm like 7 degrees from any major sin. You know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Hmm.
There's a path from where I am to there, and
Yeah.
I can track it based on where I know I struggle and where my weaknesses are. I'm like, I could fail. I could, I would, I don't think I would, but I can see it. Like that path exists.
Yeah.
And so when I'm able to see myself in a broken way, not in a shameful way, but just an honest way, then I can connect to how people get to where they are. I can see the trail that led them there. And
Yes.
then there's a sense of compassion that we have to bond to them, to hold them, the attunement that helps us do the work with them. But then there's the what have we neglected? And then now it's turning the corner into now we have to move into the distress we've created,
Yes.
which is now compounded by whatever degree you've gone down the slope.
Hmm.
And sometimes those consequences have dramatic consequences. I've sat with people that like when it all came out, they ended up in jail
Right.
like for
Right.
some time. And we were just like
Yes.
walking through the loss. And now and it's so difficult to have a conversation with a client that's like, so who will you be in jail?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Jail's just like, and then they went to jail and they ceased to exist. Like, what are you going to do when you're there? And who do you want to be? And how are you going to achieve that there? And what's God's purpose for you all the way at that end? Now,
Right.
not everybody ends up in jail, but
Sure.
what happens when you lose your position or you've lost your job or you've lost your family?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you what does redemption or restoration even look like? What does accountability
Right.
look like in stepping into all the places you've neglected?
Right.
Those are harsh measures. And so
Mm-hmm.
that sense of how to hold people accountable, not to judge them, but to rectify the errors of their ways,
Mm-hmm.
but also remain in a compassionate frame that isn't just like grossed out or devastated or bewildered at
Sure.
the crazy choices they make.
Sure. Yeah. Because that's what you're talking about, Aaron, is for all of us to be connected to our humanity
Yes.
and to be connected to those broken places inside of us.
Yeah.
Because, like you've said before, that's what then brings about humility and then empathy within
Hmm.
it. Because it's kind of, what was it? Was it Paul? Someone who was just like, and I am the chief of all sinners.
Yeah, that was Paul.
And
Hmm.
you just go, that's right. Like he remembers that.
Yep.
Like he keeps that first and foremost. That's what keeps him dependent on God and
Hmm.
not on himself. He is
Yep.
very much aware of his limitations. He's very much aware of if he is truly put in charge, where the ship will go, you
Yes.
know? And so that's the thing too, is like, man, if I was put in charge separate from God, who knows where this ship would go? It wouldn't go
Yep.
great.
Yep.
I think I've told you before, I'd probably scorch the earth with so many people, you know? And like that's the place where, man, the Lord I feel like it's his wisdom that he allows me to see and to use into having empathy for people because I think
Hmm.
without him I would be a scorch the earth kind of person. But you just know you can start to really tune into, man, where would you be apart from him?
Right.
And some of the saddest places is that you would be all about yourself.
Hmm.
And that doesn't ever lead to connection. That doesn't
Right.
lead to abundance. It doesn't lead to this feeling of wholeness within us. And we just miss out on what it's really like to love others well,
Right.
which is beautiful. So I do believe, I mean, I go back, there's so many times too where I'm like, Lord, I love the lesson that I got out of this pain, and I would have loved to have learned that lesson without the pain.
Right.
That would have been great.
That's something my mom always said. She's like, you can learn things the hard way, or you can learn from others people doing it the hard way. Like you can
Right.
pick which one you want. I'm like, oh, I'll learn from theirs. That looks terrible. I'm good.
Right.
I'll skip the
Let
whole
me,
thing. Like, I bypass
right,
it.
right. And that's where I'm like, Lord, listen, you can just like hand me a piece of paper and I'll read it, and I can learn the lesson that way, you
Yes.
know. But really
But
and
there's lessons we
truly,
all learn, right? In that we just
oh
have to walk through it
gosh,
ourselves, right? There's just times when
yes,
we just
yes,
even us, and I think there's a great normalizer in therapists and who we work with. I remember early in my career working with a psychology a professor of psychology, right? I was like
yeah,
just graduate, like I was just like I don't think I was licensed yet, and here I am sitting across from a professor, like a PhD in psychology. I was just like,
yeah,
oh my gosh, what do I know? But then what you realize is that everybody's just a human. And
yeah,
then, as a therapist, you lose that sense of celebrity that they're not smarter just because they're in a higher position. I mean, they're good at specific things, but they're still just a human.
right.
Everyone's got their brokenness. And the more we're attuned to our brokenness, the more we see them in that way, the more responsive we can be to humans
Hmm.
in wherever they're at.
Yeah. And so there really is a place of going, okay, if you are a leader or a therapist, Man, start to recognize the voice that starts to talk to you that's trying to lead you into that pit. If you're
Yes.
already in the pit, go ahead and ask for God's help and ask for help of others to get out of the pit. And it's okay. You're going to have to sit in distress. You're going to have to sit in the fallout. Don't do it alone, but you can do it. And it's far better when people come to others and say, "This is what I did," versus
Hmm.
getting found out about it.
Yes.
That sends far more humanity.
Yep.
Where you're like, okay, we're now letting light into the pit.
And if you are listening and you are one of those people trapped in those cycles, then finding someone trusted, a therapist especially, can help you process with the pit that you're in and then how to navigate disclosure, how to navigate
Right.
confession,
Right.
and how to do that in a way. Because it's so much better when you say it versus you're found out and then you feel guilty like no one believes you, right? Because you're just like, oh, you're just guilty, you got caught. Even if you
Right.
actually are guilty, you feel
Right.
guilty. But confession is this ownership of yourself that moves into this place of humility that demonstrates the difference that you want people to see if
Yeah.
that's what you're doing. So I just want to encourage
Right.
people to that.
I love that. I think that's huge. And maybe there's even a podcast for us in the future to do just on confession
Yeah, that'd
in
be good.
that way. Well, Aaron, thanks for journeying with me today in this topic. And I'm glad that we were able to have it. And I look forward to this new season with you.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, bye.